Muito boa tarde, pessoal. Estamos aqui hoje com mais um Luby Talks. Hoje nós temos dois convidados que são internacionais, que são expoentes das fintechs nos Estados Unidos e América Latina. Estamos aqui com o Brandon e com o Aaron. E a gente vai conversar um pouco sobre a evolução desse mercado e como eles têm visto esse mercado evoluir nas tecnologias que a gente está tentando aplicar há um bom tempo durante as nossas carreiras e como isso se reflete nos clientes. Esse vai ser o último episódio dessa temporada e espero que vocês tenham gostado bastante. E vamos às introduções dos nossos convidados. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Brandon. How are you doing, guys?
Doing well.
Very well, very well.
Nice. And Aaron, we've been talking for at least a couple of months about AI. And it was very nice to meet you in Miami about the technologies and the new trends that we are seeing in the market. Tell us about your career. How are you? How your work at ex-ZSuite?
Hi, I'm Aaron. I am CTO of ex-ZSuite. At ex-ZSuite, we build a commercial banking product that we sell to banks and then they sell to their customers. So we've been at it about 6 years, and I've got a pretty large team of engineers, at least for me, larger than I've had in the past. And this year, we've spent a lot of time really starting to look at what we can do with AI and how we can impact the code that we're producing, both to get more out of it and to cut down some of our tasks. Before that, I was doing Fintech SaaS stuff since about 2004. Spent a lot of time at a company called Evolution Benefits that ended up as WEX Health, where I designed and built the HSA system. And I spent some time at a company called Gizio, where I spent a lot of time in PFM before that was acquired by Jack Henry. So that led me to ex-ZSuite, where we've had the opportunity to build the platform here, and it's been an awesome opportunity.
Beautiful. How are you, Brandon?
Doing well. Thanks, Mateus.
How did you get here, Brandon? What do you build?
How did I? That's a good question. Well, just by way of introduction, I'm Brandon Kunz. I'm working as Chief Strategy Officer at Luby, and then also own a consulting firm in the United States called FAIO, Fintech All-in-One. I've been in the financial services space for over 20 years. I work for fintech companies large and small, including SAP, Pioneer on the high end, Jack Henry on the kind of high end, and then on the low end, I've worked with various startup team products launched from 0 to 1, including growth solutions for account opening, including Expensify, my prior firm, including Bridge Clarity, which is now part of TransUnion, and others.
Excellent. That's an excellent start for the conversation, because what I want to ask you guys is the landscape that we are looking today versus the landscape that we were looking for the past 5 years, or at least since the pandemic. I believe we are seeing a deep change in the behavior of the financial systems, especially impacted by the digital solutions that are more and more incorporating data enrichment and AI into their functions. Aaron, what's your take into that? What do you expect from the system?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've seen some pretty drastic change with both industrial and what we've seen banks, how they're operating in the past 5-10 years, as well as their partners. But then we've also seen the introduction of AI at a scale that we hadn't seen before that. Yeah. So it is interesting because I have the opportunity to talk with leaders at many different companies. And I remember talking with one C-level executive at a fintech and asking him about his AI strategy. And in their company, they have a lot of AI in their product. And while selling to banks, he was telling me man, I basically need to have a deterministic sheet to show them what decisions are going to be made. Because remember, banks are ultimately risk organizations. So trusting a model is not inherently in their domain in some cases. But then I sat down with another and asked a very similar question. And his response was, well, if I'm not showing my banks where we plan to go with AI, they're telling me I'm falling behind. So it's going to be interesting to navigate how banks in the fintech sector, because they're all using it in one way, shape, or form, right? All banks are using it in fraud detection. At least most of them at this point. It would be critical to be running a fraud detection program without some form of AI decisioning, automated decisioning. So we know the appetite is there when the cost and value is clear. So it's going to be interesting to see both what they're willing to buy and put in market, but also how it's going to impact their internal operations.
Yeah. And I think that Brandon can also bring something here, because as a strategist and someone that deeply knows this market, mapping processes with the help of machine learning has changed a lot. And how have you seen this, Brandon?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey. I mean, if you look at financial services over the last couple of decades, even, there's always been an emphasis on how to use data more effectively and efficiently, how to provide a better level of experience to your customer, how to improve your back office operations to move away from such labor-intensive processes to more efficient capabilities, both to manage costs and to allow you to scale in a bigger, better way, but also to provide better experiences to the end customer or member, as the case may be. And so I'm really excited about AI and its capabilities for a couple of reasons. One, it provides a framework for a much more rapid pace of innovation than we've seen in many, many years. We've always had programmatic capabilities to allow automation. We've had machine learning for a long time, but large language models and the capabilities afforded through those models allow us to accelerate innovation. But for me, from a strategy perspective, I always come back to the why. Why are you wanting to use AI? What are you trying to accomplish at the core? Because many financial institutions struggle with, hey, and even financial technology companies struggle, hey, I want to use AI for the sake of AI. I need to say I'm using AI to emphasize my go-to-market messaging. And while that may be a consideration, understanding the why between what are we trying to accomplish as a financial institution? If we're trying to grow our member base and we're trying to increase utilization of our products and we're trying to be there for our customers at the times of need, what does that look like? And how does AI play a role in making those things possible? How can I underwrite customers more effectively and efficiently through the use of AI? So I'm able to understand, maybe through Catalyst, it's not just a raw credit score, whether or not to offer a new product or a new service to them. How can I anticipate that their product utilization has gone down and that may impact my deposits, and draw a correlation between that and maybe their investments in stablecoin and crypto and the risk that may have for a financial institution. And not to mention making sure that we're providing better offers and personalized service to our customers and members in a way that had never been possible before.
Exactly. I think that both of you guys have touched a pivoting point that marks not only the change in the strategy, but the change in the processes that better answer to the questions or the needs of this new generation of clients. And I asked Brendan, you basically started attending to credit unions and smaller banks. And how do you see that change coming to these institutions, be it in terms of behavior of features in apps or strategy and execution at the treasury or something like that?
That's a really good question. And it really depends on the individual financial institution. I would would say in general, by and large, larger financial institutions tend to be more aggressive, have thousands of people that they can devote to exploring models for efficiency, exploring opportunities to monetize data and things like that. Smaller institutions can be aggressive and maybe potentially even more nimble than larger ones, but they can also be much more subject to fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And so I think as I go into a financial institution, exploring the specific use cases that we're trying to accomplish through the use of AI is very, very important. And mapping out how a couple of core things. How are we going to secure the data that is used to feed our large language models? And how are we going to make sure that the use of agentic AI isn't exposing that data in ways or places that it shouldn't? And so mapping sort of a data entitlement framework, for lack of a better word, to the agentic AI deployments, as well as the users of agents, is very, very important to secure data. So that's sort of one core tenet. And then the other thing that financial institutions need to be cognizant of is kind of managing their AI environment such that costs of compute power don't explode for reasons that don't provide a return on investment.
Yep.
That's something I think about quite a bit. Aaron, I don't know if, tell me about from an individual kind of fintech perspective, how you're seeing that world.
I mean, I'm definitely seeing increased costs on tokens, and I forget exactly where I saw this, but it was in some conference or some rag that I was reading that we should be expecting our developers to be spending $70,000 to $90,000 a year each on tokens.
Yep.
And so I encourage my team, I want to see this bill go up. Like, make me spend more money on AI, because in my head, when my development team is spending $70,000 to $90,000 per developer, the output that we're getting, what we're able to put in market, the resiliency of our software, it's just going through the roof. Like, we're able to get so much more in that new world. So yeah, sign me up. I got to get the CFO on board, but we'll get there.
Yeah, that's an existential question I see, at least here in Brazil, that people still think that the AI is going to replace the developers. And I don't think that we're going to get there so soon.
What our clients seem to be asking about more is, to what extent, if I'm hiring a developer for a specific purpose, to what extent is that developer enabled through the use of AI? So Aaron can control this inside of his shop for his developers and make sure that they're invested more. For Luby, we have to invest proactively to make sure our developers are highly, highly productive, because there's less tolerance than ever before in unproductivity. And so to your point, Mateus, it may not replace the individual developer, but as you've probably heard many times, the developer that is enabled by AI, that understands how to leverage AI, is likely to replace very quickly the developer that is taking a more defensive stance and has been reluctant to adopt new tools to drive efficiency.
Yes, and I think we touch on a cultural behavior that sometimes is kept by institutions. For example, here in Brazil, we have a lot of I think the top 5 banks here in Brazil, they still use COBOL. They still use Pascal in their machines. The senior developer there, yes, is senior. He's like in his 60s, and he's the one that knows how to operate the mainframes that they still have somehow in their basement, running some service of the bank that is maintained since the 1970s. And there comes the new generation that we were talking about, Aaron, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, and the generation that is digitally native, AI first, mobile first. And I think we are going to see the birth of a new type of financial system or a financial institution. What's your take, Brandon?
My take on that is, well, a couple of things. I used to think being a COBOL developer would be a path to a gold mine that could bill $500 an hour or more to a U.S. financial institution to maintain their systems.
Yeah.
And so AI may actually change that and allow us to explore how the COBOL code is assembled and how the various extensions are all pieced together to create a holistic solution, and actually speed up the process of maybe being able to replace some of that legacy infrastructure in a way that hadn't been possible before. So that's kind of a side note. But in terms of some of the other things I'm thinking about a lot in our projects is how do we expose data or permission access to data, not just inside the walls of a financial institution? You know, how can we mobilize data in a way that the end customer or the end business client can leverage that data in a way that improves their overall processes internally? So, for example, a Coca-Cola, I'm based in Atlanta, in the state of Georgia, in the U.S. Coca-Cola is based here. A Coca-Cola may in the past have had an easy path to getting data from its financial institution through various information reporting modules that may have required a login process to get access to specific reports. Financial institutions today really need to be thinking about how is Coca-Cola, or maybe not Coca-Cola, maybe it's a much smaller business that has sophisticated developers, maybe it's ZSuite. How is ZSuite going to be able to get access to data from its bank via APIs in a way that it can then deploy automation and efficiencies in its payables, receivables, processes, and so forth? And so that interface to the financial institution has kind of changed over time from going to a branch to see a person to visiting a dashboard in a website to getting quick access to task-based services on a mobile phone to potentially actually not seeing the bank or the credit union on a day-to-day basis, but actually having the information that is stored through those more aggressive financial institutions straight to me through my agents, leveraged in my agents, and through my own internal AI to automate my overall workflow and processes. And so a financial institution that's not investing in the end-to-end solution, yes, we want to enable the financial institution to be better internally through the use of AI. Yes, we want to enable enterprise agents to streamline those processes. But think about it, the next step. AI can make your customer support staff more efficient. AI can make it possible for your customer to come into maybe a mobile device and ask questions in a dialogue that had never been possible before. But then AI can potentially take away a huge amount of friction when you look at the interaction between the end consumer of data and the bank itself. Not to mention automate transactions and payment flows and make my financial life more efficient, almost as if I have a personal financial coach that I've built with collaboration with my bank to ensure that nothing is missed and that I'm financially successful and healthy as either consumer or business. So that's kind of a long-winded answer. What do you have to add?
I mean, I think that's spot on though, because as you mentioned earlier as well, AI is drastically bringing down the cost of innovation. So we're going to see where now the Coca-Colas of the world, let's be honest, they have an API to their bank. They have for a while. When you have that kind of scale, you demand a different kind of relationship. But as the cost of innovation continues to plummet, we'll see smaller companies, potentially individuals, looking for that similar kind of access, like you mentioned, for agentic access, for whatever purpose. When small tasks, because I'm not living in a world where personal software will get to the point of complexity where you need engineers to manage it. But there's going to be this whole new realm of personal software, small business software, where you have people that are able to cobble together automations that make their life different, that are very unique to them in a cost profile that's going to be very attractive. That's going to be everywhere for all kinds of interesting tasks. The bank wants to participate in that, or at least the banks that do participate in that, or the fintechs, they're gonna get a piece of that economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from a technical perspective, you're talking about maybe Coca-Cola had a volume of transactions that you used to have to support, but you open that up to hundreds of thousands of small businesses with similar needs. Now that the scale implications and ramifications, you're not using a custom VPN with proprietary access to data. You have to open up and scale these capabilities out. And then also consider your support ramifications as well. If somebody gets on their custom dashboard in terms of their business, a data element that doesn't make sense, how are you going to respond to that from a customer success perspective?
And you better be thinking about this, because if you're not, some stablecoin provider is going to and take that volume from you. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I think we are seeing that type of stuff since the maybe the launching of the ETFs. Maybe BlackRock and these guys started giving weight to that revolution or that innovation wave. But I feel that since the protocols agent-to-agent communication, MCPs, started rolling out, we are seeing more and more agentic interfaces being launched. For example, we have MCP servers that are dedicated for PayPal. So PayPal has already a payment solution dedicated to AI agents. We're starting to see here Jira MCP, Stripe MCP, then we're going to see other banks, and then they're going to launch the investment advisors that are going to be agentic. They're going to communicate among them, and then we're going to see wallets and portfolios being managed by agents and all that stuff. And then I think we're going to see a type of breakaway society of financial services. I have been reading about cointelligence from Jason Malnick, I think is the name of the guy. And he wrote a book about how this society is going to live with this layer of co-intelligence in everything that they do. And there's another book that I have been reading. It's called Super Agency. I forgot the name of the author, but it's on Amazon. And the guy basically states and amplifies what we believe we're going to see in the next 5 years. We're going to see true, intelligent, although niche-specific intelligent systems. Not only automations are going to explode, but they're going to create opportunities and create their own software, maybe, for these questions that we are seeing. And that has got to be in the strategy of any business that's going to survive for the next 5 years. It's a given.
Any business. I mean, you can order a $300 robot arm from Hugging Face now. So if you want to start to bridge the gap between AI and the physical world, like it's not going to be long before AI is starting to hit the physical world as well. Yeah. So it's all coming. There's going to be this layer.
Yeah, they're open sourcing really I think for the first time OpenAI published their weights. I think it was a model of 120 billion parameter that was open sourced this week, and it's there. The possibilities are there. And Brandon, how do you see that impacting the lives of all the institutions, especially these ones that we're talking about, the legacy that they're bringing in the 4,000 plus banks that the United States have?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was in a boardroom the other day at a fairly large credit union. We were having a discussion with some different thought leaders in the space, and it's been said that 80 to 90% of AI companies don't have anything that actually works right now. That's a scary thought, in that for a bank or a credit union to explore adoption of a new solution, the way I kind of think about it is if you used to have 30 people to create a enterprise-grade solution for a financial institution, today, in theory, with maybe 1, 2, or 3 people, you could create something that looks like that caliber of a solution very, very easily. And And the demo may be perfect. The use of AI for kind of that idea, if you will, that you have to bring to market is going to look great, but it has some side effects. So one side effect is the financial institution who's looking to adopt some MCP model or is wanting to adopt a new fintech solution and make sure that its AI strategy is up to date and is modern and is going to be, and the company is going to be able to comply with due diligence and the regulators. There's potentially 10 times the number of solutions that they're going to have to evaluate than they did before. If they do the math, 30 people for one solution, if that goes to 3 people for 10 solutions, that's a significant growth in the number of software companies out there and solutions that they need to be vetted. So what does that mean for the financial institution? They're going to have to, have experts available to them, and they may not be able to have full-time employees within their shops, but they're going to need to have experts available to them to help them navigate this complex market, especially in the kind of short to medium term. Long term, maybe they will have the ability to skill up their internal staff, but there's going to have to be an exceptional investment in knowledge, talent, skills, and especially execution capabilities beyond what they've ever imagined. And if they get behind, if they say, "Hey, maybe I'm the CEO, I'm about to retire, I'm going to leave it to the next person," it may be too late. It's scary, the pace of innovation that we're seeing. So not to scare the world too much from that perspective, but I see a massive sort of expansion in options that occurs as the cost of development goes down and the ability to introduce solution markets becomes more and more easy. But then the reality is going to be the go-to-market costs, the analysis of solution costs are going to force a compression in solutions to some extent, which I think will be a good thing. That happens with all major innovation cycles. So you'll see this expansion in solution offerings, this contraction down to winners and losers. And I think it won't just be large tech that wins out on this. Certainly they have the capital, the capacity to come out on top as big winners, but I wouldn't count anyone out at this point. A ZSuite, through the use of technology and the customer intimacy and the knowledge of the specific solution space that it's in, is positioned to win. They've already been winning, but AI makes that win become even bigger and better over time. So it's going to be an interesting ride. I would encourage, just kind of going back, financial institutions to engage in analysis of where are you from an AI adoption perspective. What does your AI capability maturity model look like for you as an institution? How are you going to take the next steps so that you don't have rogue use of AI in an uncontrolled fashion that you can't wrap your arms around in the future? How can you put in place the support models, the purchase models in place to make it possible, what Aaron was saying before, to maybe spend an extra $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year per FTE on AI enablement, where that person then becomes as effective and efficient as 5 people or maybe 10 people in the future. And that's effectively a 10x cost reduction over time, where your people can be scaling to accommodate much more workload than ever before.
And I think that one of the most interesting cases that we've seen, I have seen at least 2 cases that were in that direction. The dilemma of build versus buy, but at the same time, having deep knowledge of the context of the data that you have to enrich to get to a point that's production ready, that's context ready. And this case is reconciliation, that Aaron probably knows a thing or two about conciliation.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and these tools are changing, and it's every discipline, and it's young in how we get it out. Like in our organization, clearly the engineers are the leaders, right? They're the ones using AI the most. And even in there, I've got 3 distinct segments. I've got the engineers that are all in. They're out there looking for the next thing and really pushing the envelope. We've got the engineers that they want to do it, but they're not going to go out of their way to find extra stuff. And when it's in front of them, they're going to use it and get better at it. And then we've got our laggards. And you take that and bring it into all of the different departments in the company. And the tooling needs to catch up. So like trying to get a business user actually effectively using some of these tools, I'm able to do like, let's say some product research. I'm able to use MCPs and AI to do research, a day and a half worth of research in 15 minutes now, right? It's amazing what I can get done, but I can't effectively hand that to a non-technical person yet and explain to them what's happening. And so but it's all happening so fast. I was asked by our CEO a while ago, what do you see in the future for your team? And the easy answer that I started out is people are going to be solving problems faster. But that's not where the real gains are going to come. It's in concurrency. You're going to see engineers and really any discipline able to solve multiple problems at once. Because they're going to be pairing with multiple AIs that are off doing work and training themselves to manage their army, if you will. And it's going to be like you said earlier, it's not going to be the AI that comes for the jobs. It's going to be the people that understand how to get the army and command the army that are really going to be the difference makers and able to just move mountains.
Yeah, for sure. And I would echo that experience that you've had with your development talent. You look at leading product managers and their use of AI, it's kind of the same 3 buckets. You have some product managers that can create a set of requirements and even a prototype to put into a system like Jira or Azure DevOps in a matter of minutes based on their use of AI and agents. You have go-to-market experts and salespeople who are using AI to more effectively manage their tasks in their day and their CRM processing and so forth. And so one thing that will be interesting is also streamlining the communication across an enterprise through the use of AI, where you're not having product management AI handing off to development AI, handing off to QA AI, handing off to DevOps and support QA, AI, excuse me. And I think that'll be inevitable to a certain extent based on our current skill sets. But I think there is a level of orchestration that could happen across an enterprise and to solve a key problem, and that is this program management office limitation that I see with most financial institutions, like the ability to take a project end to end and understand the ramifications of introducing a new feature or a new partner solution into market and navigating the communication and the synchronization of processes. That's one area where hopefully leading kind of program management professionals kind of are able to leverage AI in a way to streamline that process and feed into the agents from the various team members that things need to happen for the enterprise to work effectively.
Yes, I think that I am seeing this type of development nowadays in some of the teams that I have a daily contact. I've been working in some projects that I have installed, quote unquote, a prompt discovery session because, I integrated the daily of the developers with agents that are listening and transcribing the dailies. And then the agents are prompting themselves, improving their own prompts, like in a daily session, improving their own prompts. So it works. It works, and there are good results from that. And I think we're going to see something much more to the effect of what is the definition of the value chain or the creation of this chain of value across the company to increase the context value of every automation or every workflow that we are building instead of just management. This has to be done, and then these are the tasks that we broke, and now you execute. The context for the data is going to be much more valuable because it's going to represent maybe the value of the product. I think we have a layer.
I'm not sure. As part of that, I would say, how do you distill the context of the organization and the problem you're trying to solve across the institution as well? That's where I don't know that AI replaces the highest value tasks of really truly intimately understanding the customer, the problem you're trying to solve, the awareness of the benefits and costs that they're going to have to deal with and that they're struggling to address, and distilling that to create a solution that solves the real problem and then also drives the ROI.
Yeah.
And so as part of that, I see, like at the outset of projects, Mateus, I think you do this as well, and Aaron as well. How are we going to measure success? If we're going to invest in an AI agent to streamline a reconciliation process, or if we're going to use AI to improve the way that we consolidate access to data so our member customer facing staff is operating more efficiently, how are we going to measure that? And how do we put the mechanisms in place early on in the development cycle such that we can prove the value of what's been accomplished here? Did we increase accounts? Did we grow deposits? Did we increase product utilization? Did we make it possible so our staff of 100 that serviced 1 million customers can now service 2 million or 3 million customers? Those are some of the things that I think can help.
Yes, definitely. Aaron, your thoughts? We're approaching the end of the time, the end of our allotted time here. And I think we could extend this conversation for at least 5 more days. And it's very good to see that we have a lot to think about after here. And if you want to have this conversation, not because of a podcast, but just because you want to think about the subject together, I'm just available for you guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Aaron, your comments?
Yes, I enjoy those conversations. So I've set up those types of conversations with a number of technical leaders in my network, and it's been interesting to hear some of the different challenges and progress that they've made in rolling out AI with their different teams across the different disciplines. So I'd love to have that conversation with you, and then anybody that's listening, find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have that conversation with you as well. Because it is the only way. Like right now, it's moving so fast, and it's tough to take the signal from the noise. So talking to people that are actually doing it is one of the only ways to actually understand what's possible.
Yeah. Brandon?
Yeah, same. I mean, I was, as you were stating, we could talk about this for what did you say, 5 days?
Yes, at least.
I think we could talk about it for 5 days, but then if we came back to it a week later, we could have a different conversation.
In those 5 days, it's going to change drastically. Are you kidding?
Yeah, exactly. We may have a lot of research happening throughout those 5 days to make sure we're up to date throughout the discussion. And so I really appreciate you and your willingness to go inspire the industry, inspire the market, and bring awareness to some of the arts of the possible, if you will. I'm very, very excited about where we are as an industry. It can be scary. You can have a little bit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You might think the glass is half empty, but I really think that the future is bright. There are opportunities to create meaningful impacts to the world, but in a way that never before was possible, as we free ourselves from some of the more mundane and tedious tasks that we had before, as we enable access to just such a huge amount of data in a very efficient way possible. as long as we're careful, as long as we're responsible in our use of this technology, like we need to be with any technology, I think that the future is bright.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Aaron. I hope to talk to you more, and I hope to see you more, and to philosophize a little bit more with you guys. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Bom, pessoal, esse foi um episódio e tanto que a gente deixa aí com várias provocações. Eu espero que o ano que vem a gente volte com mais coisas para se atualizar, com mais novidades, com mais coisas para se filosofar a respeito e para estimular a nossa inteligência coletiva, a nossa responsabilidade, a nossa ética profissional. Espero que vocês tenham gostado. Até daqui a pouco. Até mais.